The story unfolds with an interesting rumor about a man in this world that even the armed groups are afraid of whenever they see him. His name is Peter, and the most surprising thing about Peter is that he is an older man in his 60s. It would have been better for him if he had died years ago, but unfortunately, Peter has been chased down by thousands of killers, and he has also lost all the assets he acquired throughout his life. And now, those after him threaten his loyalty to the organization, even though Peter is a legend among them. The scene shifts, where Peter is standing over the heaps of men he killed and only one guy left out of them. He recognizes that the man standing before him is Peter, even though Peter is wearing a funny mask on his face. The injured man is in shock to realize that Peter is still alive, even though he is legendary Peter when thousands of killers chase him down. Peter just walks towards the injured man calmly and tells him that the reason, even though thousands of killers are after him, they have never been able to find him is because the Peter they are looking for is no longer who he used to be. Then he takes off his mask, and the man is shocked when he sees the face of Peter as he can't believe his eyes and thinks that it is impossible what he is seeing. Peter casually points his gun at the man while smoking a cigarette and shoots him. The scene shifts to 3 months back, when Peter is standing in his bookstore. Meanwhile, he receives a call. The guy advises him to stop ignoring the calls and visit the hospital. The person on the call reminds him that if he continues to do that, then he will die in less than 3 months. But it looks like Peter is not afraid to death as he is gathering his mountain of pills. While settling the books in the racks, he thinks he has been handling death and life situations throughout his life, and how he gave the last 50 years of his life to the organization and admits that he doesn't regret anything. While sorting books, he comes across a book titled How to Take Portraits. He realizes that he has yet to take any photos of himself. He looks into the mirror while watching his old body carrying a book pile. That might be the only regret he has. A schoolgirl wearing a school uniform and holding her bag walks into his shop. She greets Peter and tells him she wants to buy a middle school textbook. Peter, sorting the books in the other corner of his shop, welcomes her while turning around with a customer-friendly persona and cracks a joke as he sells every book he has there except the one he doesn't. A student asks if he sells used textbooks. Peter replied that he had textbooks from the 1960s to 2020, including books from different countries, and Peter asked which one she liked and suggested she get the latest one. The girl explains that she wants these for her younger sibling. Peter assumes she is probably a student from the nearby high school, and he starts picking out the books for her. Peter notices that her name tag is green, so he concludes that she is a senior, which the girl confirms. She is impressed by Peter's sharpness and asks how he knows so much. Peter replies that he knows everything about everyone in the neighborhood. Peter brings out a set of brand new books, which shocks her. She explains that these are not the ones she wants to buy. She adds that she has only 1,001 Korean currency and can't buy all these brand new books. Peter smiles and tells her he no longer needs these so she can have them. The girl tries to refuse, but Peter tears off the book's plastic cover and tells her that these are no longer brand new. She tells him that he doesn't need to do that for her, but he assures her that it is okay. Just by looking into her eyes, Peter reveals to her that he knows how much she adores her younger sibling and tells her that she should be good to them while she has the chance. This surprises the girl. Peter adds that she will regret it if she doesn't. When Peter is packing the books for her, the girl calls him Grandpa while trying to get his attention, so Peter tells her she should call him Mr. The girl then asks Peter if he has ever regretted anything before. Peter tells her that their regrets increase as they live longer. Peter recalls a time when he had to leave his daughter so they both could stay alive. He tells the girl they can't do anything to change the past. Peter then tells her to go home and take care of her siblings and avoid the things she would regret later. Just then, the girl is about to stab Peter in the back, but it looks like Peter already knows that she has been sent here to kill him, and tells her that she should turn back and promises not to kill her if she does. Hearing this, the girl is shocked and wonders how he knows why she is here. Peter reveals that he has memorized the faces of every student at the high school. To confirm, Peter tells her that she tells him that she is a senior, but that the high school was built just 2 years ago. The girl realizes that Peter has caught her. Peter points out that the knife she carried with her smells of blood, a scent that he has been exposed to for many years of his life. He mocks her for attempting to hide the smell with cheap perfume. The girl decides to go ahead and attack him because she has already come so far and she has no other choice. She then takes the knife and tries to stab him, but suddenly starts to feel afraid that she will be the one who dies, but reminds herself that she is the one with a knife. Peter says she can still have the books because he knows what she said about her young sibling is real. Judging by how the girl speaks, Peter confirms that she is also from the same organization as him, and the girl realizes that she blew her cover when she used honorifics by accident. Peter tells her she is from Glory Orphanage like him, and their way of work has not changed yet. Peter claims that she is not trained well yet. Peter then tells her that Plan B occurs if their volunteer service fails in their organization. Suddenly, 2 other men crash into the store through the roof and start shooting them. Peter pushes the girl away and reveals that their organization, if the mission is unsuccessful, then the assassin needs to be neutralized. She notices that Peter got hit by one of the bullets and it went through his stomach. The other 2 men open fire again, and Peter tries to fight back by shooting at them too. But unfortunately, one of them grabs the girl while the other punches the older man and wonders how such a weak man could be Peter. Meanwhile, a man with octopus tattoo on his head arrives. His code name is Eight-legged Man, and he is the boss's informant. He talks about how Peter has the most extraordinary reputation in their organization and is the highest ranked agent, but now he's nothing about the disease. While lying on the floor, Peter tells them to come straight to the point and tell him the reason they want to kill him. In response, the Eight-legged tells him that the boss doesn't like him. Peter seems confused to hear that, so the informant explains that there's a massive bounty of 76 billion won on Peter's head, which thousands of killers would be trying to win the moment he steps out of the organization. Peter finds it funny that the bounty is the same amount in his bank account. The informant confirms that's indeed his money. The bounty is the money he saved up over the years while risking his life, but now that money would be going into someone else's hand, and the Eight-legged wants to be that person. Eight-legged asks Peter to die by his hands and punches him in the face, and the other man joins him. Peter is sent flying into the other room. They assume that Peter has been knocked out. The Eight-legged look disappointed as the fight ended so quickly and asks the other man to clean up the mess. Eight-legged looks closer at Peter, but Peter surprises him with a flashbang and escapes through the door. They realize that they have been tricked, and the Eight-legged orders his men to go after Peter as he couldn't have gone far with a bullet in his stomach. Those 2 men go out on a rainy night to search for Peter. It is raining heavily outside, and Peter is huffing in pain, lying in the park's playing area. Peter thinks that he is not in a position to fight back. He is bleeding badly, huffing in pain, and realizing that he is too old now. Peter thinks back about his life as he lived daily for the organization. At an early age, when other boys of his age were studying in school, Peter was learning how to swing a knife and kill people. When his age fellows were learning from schools, he was learning to wiretap and eavesdrop until his ears bled. When other guys were dating and romancing, he became a Russian spy, living with Frostbite 247. When others were planning their families, he was fighting against the terrorist groups to survive. Peter worked for this organization by constantly putting his life on the line. The situation changed when the new boss took over the organization's charges. The new boss feels Peter is too old, but Peter is sick and soft now, so he wants Peter to die. Peter is groaning in pain at the playground and recalls giving everything to the organization and never asking for anything in return, and now they are treating him in that way. Then he angrily questions himself, saying that his life is worthless for them. At least he doesn't deserve to be treated like that. Peter motivates himself that he can't die like that. He will not allow anyone to take his money. He then remembers his daughter, whom he left behind many years ago. He then unconsciously falls to the ground. He is bleeding badly. At the Eight-legged hideout, the other 2 killers are cooking something in the kitchen and talking about how they would have won the bounty if they had not let Peter slip away. The second man wonders why such a massive bounty is on the older man's head. The first man explains that it's probably the least they could do to respect such a legend. The second man is only after the money and doesn't care if Peter is a legend. He wants that money so much that he gives up his kickboxing championship title just to become a bounty hunter to kill the older man. By holding Peter's picture, they will kill him and take that bounty. Suddenly, they are interrupted by a man telling them that this is the only picture that shows his face. When they turn around, they are shocked to see Peter standing in front of them. But they realize that Peter is an older man, but the man standing in front of them is young. They assume that he's someone else wearing the same outfit. Peter himself admits that he doesn't know what happened and claims that when he woke up, he was already like this, and judging a bullet hole and blood on his shirt, Peter realized that he was him. The second man tells him he is in the wrong place. He assumes he is just a student and tells him he shouldn't be there. Peter tells him that he knows everything, that's why he is here, and then Peter grabs his hand and asks him to take him to the eight-legged man. Hearing this, they assume that this young man is also in their line of work. The second man tells him that he has to die to reduce the competition, and he tries to punch him, but Peter stops his fist with his palm. The man is shocked to see his strength and wonders if it might be the legend. Peter crushes the bones of his hand with his bare hand. A first man tries to stab Peter from behind, but Peter quickly turns around and lands several hits on him while he is in the air. The second man grabs a knife to fight and asks Peter who sent him here. Peter replies that the men who master cutlery weapons are third class at best. The man gets confused by this, but Peter continues by adding the men who mastered all weapons are second class, but those who can use anything as a weapon are first class. After saying this, Peter grabs a scarf nearby and wraps it around his hands to use it as a weapon. The man charges at Peter with the knife, but suddenly, Peter throws his knife away with that scarf, wrap it around the neck of that man, and throw him into the big pot of spaghetti while holding his neck and defeating the man. While lying on the floor, the man asks Peter who he is. Peter picks up the picture they took of him and remembers the bounty eight-legged told him if he leaves the organization. Peter confirms that that's the only picture they have of him. When he confirms it, Peter burns it while lighting a cigarette and claims that if thousands of men were after him, they would never find him because the old Peter they are looking for is already dead. He has become the younger version of himself when he opens his eyes. Peter has rejuvenated. The eight-legged is going back in their Mercedes car, and the girl is also with him. The eight-legged man says they lost Peter when they are about to catch him. Peter will be wanted everywhere soon, but they must catch him before that. Peter will also be dead soon due to cancer and suggests that he show some kindness to his subordinates because of his condition. Peter leaves the eight-legged hideout, and later he is staring at himself shirtless in a mirror. Peter can't believe what is happening to him and how he suddenly transformed into his younger age. The bullet that was in his stomach is now gone, and even the pain he was suffering due to cancer is also gone, even though he has no idea how it all happened. But most importantly, the bounty hunters can't recognize him now by his appearance. Peter knows they will always find the traces he leaves behind, but they will never see the older Peter they are searching for. He changes his clothes, as these are not fit for him now. Just then, Peter hears two thugs talking. Peter approaches them and tells them to take their cigarettes outside since they are in a non-smoking area. The thugs try to intimidate him, but Peter insists they go out. The fat one of them slaps Peter and tells him he will let him go since he is feeling good today, but don't look around them again. Peter walks away as he doesn't want to waste his time. The thugs think he is afraid of them, but Peter will lock the door and claim he will deal with them quickly. Peter walks towards them. The thugs are confident they will take him on and assume that Peter will teach them manners. Peter rolls their sleeves and tells them he will teach them a lesson for not respecting their elders. The fat thug again tries to slap Peter, but Peter lands a nasty punch on his stomach. He flies away and falls to the floor. The other thug pulls out his knife and tries to threaten Peter, asking him if he knows whom he is messing with. Peter replies that he doesn't know him, but Peter confirms that he is holding a pocket knife incorrectly. The thug looks confused, then Peter explains that he will cut his finger if he swings the knife the way he is holding it. Peter then thinks the person who will swing the knife doesn't have his arm in front of him. Then suddenly, the thug tries to swing his knife at Peter, but Peter manages to hit his hand holding the knife and disarm him quickly. After that, Peter swiftly hits him on the neck, making him fall to the ground while he is keeping his neck in pain. While standing in front of Thug, Peter tells him he doesn't try to stab him. If he did, then he should have died earlier. The thug begins to fear Peter and asks him for his identity. Peter doesn't know what kind of bad jobs he does for a living, but if he knows who Peter is, he must die here. Peter then grabs him by his shoulder and tells him that if he wants to know who he is, then he indeed has to die after that. Thug frightens and pees in his pant and says he will surely do legal things from now onwards. Peter then takes all of the thug's clothes and leaves him naked in the restroom. On his way out of the place, Peter checks his bank account and sees all his money has disappeared. He angrily thinks he has warned them not to touch it. He realized that they had started the war. Around himself, Peter hears two students talking about scholarships. One says they got a scholarship from the Glory Club, and the other admires him. Peter remembers the place where he grew up, Glory Orphanage, which was operated by a religious facility on a small scale, and now, after 50 years, they are supporting children who are suffering from terrible food shortages. Glory Club has grown to cover all the political and business world corners. It is a company Peter has been part of for many years. Now, Peter wants to dismantle this by his own hands. The scene shifts and Eight-legged enters the butcher's shop, where a guy sitting on a chair asks him if he has come alone to capture him. Eight-legged replies that he is not Peter, he is alone, which is enough for people like his level. The butcher says they will die soon if they keep on trusting in Peter. Eight-legged replies, "Does it matter if someone else dies too early?" Eight-legged wants to finish their introduction and wrap things up quickly, so finishing soon is less painful. The butcher smiles and says they have guests, so they prepare an entire supper for them, and he gathers his guards to surround the Eight-legged. This is the Wagner Mercenary Base, the best private military company in the West since 1948. The head of the company thinks that Eight-legged is not among the top 12 best in the Glory Club and wonders why he is so confident while standing there alone. Then he orders his men to attack Eight-legged at once, but Eight-legged kills them all in one go using his signature skill, entire body hypermobility. After seeing this, the leader falls to the ground united, and asks how an average human can do that. He yells for the killer to stay away from him, but Eight-legged moves towards the leader and kills him. Eight-legged enters his hideout with the girl earlier. She tells Eight-legged that his assassin guys are dead, someone very carefully kills them, and he leaves no trace behind. Killer destroys all the security cameras as well. Eight-legged assumes only one man can do that, and he's none other than Peter. Eight-legged wonders what kind of tricks this older man has used to stay alive, and even managed to kill his men in his hideout. He thinks Peter's bounty will drop soon, and wants to kill him before anyone else. Eight-legged orders the girl to go and find Peter's hideout and report him back. The girl stays silent a bit, thinking about the time back at the bookstore where the kind older man saved her life in an assassination attempt. The girl accepts the orders. After that, they walk into the restaurant. The waiter tells Eight-legged that someone is waiting for him inside, and the waiter asks Peter if he has a particular reservation as it is not a working day. Peter looks up and explains that he has no reservations but comes here with a grudge. The Eight-legged man asks if he pressed him for his tab or something in the past, but Peter says he is somehow correct as his tab is way too big. Peter glares at him and tells him the tab is about 76 billion. Peter says this to the legged man. He initially smiles and thinks it's just a joke, but he fears when he realizes what he is talking about and orders his man to lock the door. The Eight-legged assumes that he might be connected to Peter and assures him that he won't be leaving the restaurant alive. The Eight-legged looks curious to know who the young man is and how he knows about Peter's information. The Eight-legged confirms that he is not from his Glory Club and doesn't even have information about this man. As the waiter loads his gun, the Eight-legged wonders if the young man is Peter's secret child or his disciple. Eight-legged corrects himself by remembering that Peter has always worked alone. Eight-legged then offers Peter the chance to get out alive and gives Peter two options. One is to tell him the exact location of Peter and walk out alive, and the second is to fight and die with a bullet to his head. Peter replies Eight-legged that he offers good choices, but Peter doesn't need anyone from it. Peter gives him option 3, which is that his name is Peter. Peter tells Eight-legged that his name is Peter, and he is the one who kills his subordinates. Eight-legged doesn't take it seriously as he is unsure what the young man is discussing. Peter replies that a young guy like him has terrible hearing, and Peter repeats that he killed his two subordinates. The Eight-legged man is still not sure what's going on, and he doesn't believe Peter is the man sitting in front of him. He mentally debates himself about who the man is and why he would attack them. He calls out Peter, who he still thinks is an average student, and threatens him while the high school girl and the waiter pull out their weapons. The Eight-legged asks again to reveal his relationship with Peter. Peter watches them as the girl pulls out her knife ready to fight. Peter tells the Eight-legged man that there's one way he can find out about the relationship, and when the Eight-legged man asks what it is, Peter tells him that he would have to kill him. Eight-legged smiles and says he is best at killing people. He then gives his waiter the signal to shoot Peter and tells him to make sure that he can breathe after that. When the waiter pulls the trigger, Peter throws his chopstick so accurately that it hits the waiter's throat, and he falls to the ground and starts bleeding. A girl cannot believe what she has just seen and stares at the waiter. Peter picked up a new pair of chopsticks and continued eating his meal. The young girl is very impressed by Peter's move and admires him, as no one in her organization can do that. The eight-legged man is impressed and compliments his flashy skill as he walks over to the waiter's body. He admires Peter's skills and asks him what club he is from, offering him the chance to join the Glory Club. The eight-legged pretends to be friendly, but when he gets close enough to Peter, he pulls out his gun and starts shooting numerous bullets at Peter. Peter swiftly hides behind the table and throws a chili sauce bottle on the ground to save him from bullets. The eight-legged man laughs as the bullets go through the table when he sees the red liquid flowing from underneath it. The eight-legged man calls Peter a kid, thinking he can stop the bullets from falling from the table. Eight-legged smiles. He believes he has injured the young man and offers him one last chance to reveal his relationship with Peter. He then rushes behind the table to kill that young guy, but he is in shock after seeing that he is not there and realizes that it is chili sauce, not blood. Eight-legged rushes here and there in search of Peter. He checks behind the pillar, but no one is there. When he looks up, Peter spits chili sauce on his face, jumps on eight-legged, tricks his hand, and punches him on his gun-holding hand, which destroys the gun. After disarming him, Peter lands a nasty blow to his face. The eight-legged faints and can't see anything correctly, and he is bleeding from the mouth. Peter twists his head backward like he is breaking his neck, and the eight-legged person falls on the ground with his head facing backward. Peter looks at him and starts walking in the other direction. Eight-legged thinks he has faced countless opponents, but he has never seen a skilled fighter like this young guy. Eight-legged starts reminding his training sessions when he was a young guy, and his mentor was teaching them all that one day all will have a strong opponent, and they need to attack that opponent when he is distracted by something. Eight-legged reminds himself that he has created a unique technique to tackle such opponents, and only he can use that technique. That technique is that he could pin his opponent to the ground like a mixed martial arts fighter and twist them up until they were begging for their lives. His trainer pushed him further, claiming he should make his grip so tight that it could kill the opponent. With time, this was precisely what he did. His trainer still has one more lesson for him. He should never turn his back on his opponent, even if he thinks the fight is over. After mastering the art, the eight-legged completed his unique technique and was sure he would never lose a battle against anyone. Before Peter walks out of the place, he grabs Peter by his leg, applies his unique technique, rounds himself on Peter's body, and starts breaking his bones. The young guy screams, the eight-legged grip tightens, and he tells Peter that he was doing this when he wasn't even born, and that he has far more experience than a newbie like him. Peter stands beside him and asks how much time he requires to complete his unique technique. Eight-legged is in shock. He thinks he is applying this on Peter, but he grabs his waiter, applies his exceptional technique, and kills him. He realizes he has fainted and can't learn to whom he holds. The eight-legged looks at the young guy in horror as he has been in this line of work for decades, and that's why he is sure that he is going to die at the hands of this skilled young man. The eight-legged thinks that he might be better than the 12 apostles, so he offers Peter a talk and begs Peter to wait and take him out. By saying this, he gets up and immediately grabs his subordinate girl. He then gives Peter an offer to spare his life in return for that girl. He can take her and do anything he wants with her. The girl refuses to go with Peter, but eight-legged shuts her up. Peter accepts the deal and admires how quickly all the Glory Club members make deals to save their lives. The eight-legged man throws the girl to Peter and runs to the exit door. He tells Peter he will pretend that nothing has happened between them and says he can use that girl now. Peter reminds eight-legged about particular techniques. He stops in shock at how he knows his unique technique. When he turns around, Peter repeats a familiar phrase that his trainer always said to him back then. He told him that if he shows his back to his opponent when he think he have won, he will surely lose his head. Eight-legged recalls what his mentor said during training. He sees the resemblance between Peter and his trainer. He realizes Peter is the young man standing before him. Peter then reminds him of what he said earlier about how none of his opponents have lived to tell the tale after hearing his name. Peter rushes towards him and twists the flexible eight-legged man to the point that his bones snap and kill him on the spot. The scene shifts, the head of the Glory Club exercising on the roof of his office, wearing only shorts. He has a woman's tattoo on his back. His subordinates reported that the eight-legged is dead now, and it is confirmed. Data from CCTV is removed, and there are no clues about the killer. The boss replies to an older man who has been shot with a bullet and is on the verge of death, how he killed 4 trained men without leaving any trace. The boss tells his subordinate that the bounty of 7.6 billion is up for the mission of SSS level and orders his subordinate to tell all the members of the Glory Club that from now they are all allowed to kill Peter wherever they see him. The scene shifts to the busy streets of the town. A boy in a public place points his father towards the Glory Club's advertisement, stating that they started their service. Everyone else also turns up to look up the latest advertisement, and among them, Peter is also looking at the big screen. It's a coded message from Glory Club. A picture of the old Peter is on display along with the message for seeking help for the elderly and homeless. Under the ad is the phone number for the people to call if they like to donate. They are also distributing flyers on the street. One of them approaches Peter and hands him a flyer, asking him to donate 20,000 won a month as it is a non-profit organization. Peter looks at the flyer, squeezing it up and claiming he'll take down the Glory Club himself. Peter decides to bring down the organization, and only one person comes to his mind to help him with his mission. Unfortunately, the person is weird, but Peter doesn't have many options. Later that night, Peter enters a demolished bathroom. He sees many people sleeping on the floor. Even the security guard sleeps with them. Peter walks through the unclean people and wonders how their numbers keep rising each time he visits. After that, he gets to the other side of the washroom and goes to the wall to check out the posters pasted on the wall. He traces his hand across the wall as if he is trying to locate something. He then recalls that it was between the posters of organ trafficking and steaming night. Finally, he finds the spot he's been looking for and pushes the secret button to unveil a hidden passage. He passes through the secret door, down the dark stairs, and reaches a beautifully furnished apartment. Peter says it's not his first time in this place, but it is fantastic as always. He looks around the apartment and admires the owner for his choice of keeping expensive bottles of wine lined up on the shelves. Then suddenly, a sharp thing touches his neck. When he looks over, he finds a lady holding the stick. Peter notices she is blind and assumes all these expensive things in the apartment are useless to her as she can't even see them. Peter notices that his loyal dog doesn't like him much and starts barking at him in hostility. Hearing Peter's voice puts a slight smile on a blind woman's face, and she concludes that she'd soon have to get rid of a corpse for the first time in a while. Blind women use their enhanced sense of smell to sniff out Peter practically. She realizes that Peter is young and he is not a beggar. She even concludes that he exudes killing intent rather than a desire to rob her. She is not an average, weak, blind woman, and she proves it when she swings her stick at Peter. She suspects that Glory Club sends Peter. Peter thinks she is more accurate than most people, but Peter is too quick and needs to catch up. She continues to swing her stick, but Peter manages to dodge each attack with excellent skills. She tells Peter to be careful not to damage her expensive wallpaper with his incredible speed. With great speed, the blind woman throws her stick at Peter like a javelin athlete, but again, Peter dodges it sharply. The stick sticks to the wall beside Peter. Peter wonders if the lady is blind. She then tries to hit Peter with a leg kick and taunts Peter, saying that she's such a good fighter even though she is blind. But unfortunately for her, Peter is sharp enough, so he catches her midair and grabs her arm and leg before throwing her. Peter's speed and skills send blind women into amazement. However, it looks like she also has some tricks under her belt as she pulls out a knife and holds it against Peter's face while he drops her to the couch. She admits and surprised to see someone of his caliber is still be a member of the Glory Club. She taunts Peter that she didn't sense any killing intent in Peter's move and reminds Peter how bad it will be if he murders disabled women. She tells Peter that she doesn't have any choice as her work only ends when he kills a person. Then she orders her dog to attack Peter, Alexander Macking. Without wasting time, Alexander hurls himself at Peter, ready to bite him with his sharp teeth. But something unexpected happens when Peter suddenly calms down the vicious dog, and Alexander lies on his back and enjoys a nice belly rub, while the blind lady is lying with great amazement. A few moments later, a blind lady opens a bottle of Jack Anals. Peter then explains that he is no longer an older man, but is back to the specially trained killer stud he used to be. The blind lady couldn't believe his age conversion and felt Peter's face with her hands to confirm that he was not lying to her. She affirms that Peter's skin is even softer and that the smell of his old man is also not there. She looks surprised. After feeling face for 30 minutes, she still doesn't understand what Peter tells her. Suddenly, he funnily falls on the couch and asks Peter that's how he died. Peter asks what she is doing. She asks Peter how he died so she can repeat the posture. She stands back and asks if the posture is not essential, and if the method by which he was attacked may be necessary. She continues to interrogate Peter, asking if he was killed with a gun, knife, or any poison. With a desperate look on her face, she asks Peter to explain so she can rejuvenate like him. Suddenly, a boil appears on her forehead, implying that Peter smacks her so they can change the topic. She asks Peter if he has to go to the Glory Club alone. Peter replies yes. She asks Peter how he is planning to do that. Peter replies he is going inside using the Eye of the Storm. She questions what Eye of the Storm. Peter explains to her that Glory is chasing him, and he wants to finish Glory by going inside again. He plans to become a killer for the Glory Club again, and that's the best way to take down the organization from the inside. By hearing this, the blind lady rejects the idea, but she soon realizes that it's a good idea. She points out how he has become younger and that no one will recognize him, and he can easily infiltrate the organization undercover. Whatever their plans to kill Peter, Peter will be well aware of that. She is impressed by Peter's move. She pulls Peter by his tie and starts flirting with him. She tells Peter that he has become scary. Peter looks uncomfortable and tells her to let him go because she is more terrifying than him, and she lets go of his tie. She tells Peter that to become a member of the Glory Club, he has to graduate from Glory Orphanage, which looks impossible. As old Peter has already graduated from Glory Orphanage, but in his current appearance, he is nothing but an outsider. It seems like there is no way to become a killer of the Glory Club. Peter tells her that she is wrong and that there is a way. He will be a student of Glory Club's high school, and at this point, he is still determining what kind of organization this club is supposed to be. How do they have an orphanage, a school, and a killer at the same time? Peter gets admitted to the school and enters when all the girls start flirting with him over his beautiful face and perfect body. Peter's new name is Kim Sungu. It's time to head towards the auditorium, and even one of the teachers tries to make advances on him, but he has no interest in whatever is happening around him. He thinks that the institute looks like a regular school from the outside, but in reality, its primary purpose is fostering killers. There's even a killer intensive class that operates secretly where students get training on how to kill a person. Peter, entering as Kim, realizes that it is the only way to become one of the Glory Club killers. He thinks about his plan while admirers from men and women surround him. Peter arrives at the auditorium for the girls' original ballet grand prize. He walks into the hall while his blind friend communicates with him, reminding him that only orphanage graduates are eligible for the killer class. She asks Peter if he has a way to get in. Peter reveals that he has only one way, an exception, and that it rarely happens. He has to get the management's intentions. To do so, Peter walks up to the stage and takes the mic. Miss Murdoch, blind lady, and her dog Macking return home. They are in shock at what he is going to do. Peter introduces himself as Kim Sungu, the new transfer student. Students are in shock and ask what Peter is doing. Peter ignores everyone's questions, continues his introduction, tells them about his love for fighting, and tells everyone that he is a killer. Everyone is horrified, including a blind lady and her dog back home. There is a group of faceless people with glowing red eyes listening to what Peter is saying, and they are all armed with deadly weapons. Peter confirms that he forgot to tell them one last and important thing. He then gets closer to the mic and tells everyone that he is going to be a killer who is good at studying, and with a smile on his face, he closes his speech by telling everyone to take care of him while he is at their school. One of the students watching Peter's speech on the phone finds it funny, and he thinks he can become an academic killer. On the other hand, another student suggests that Peter's confidence is tremendous. Just then, a fat guy pushes the girl with the phone out of the way, and with that fat guy, Peter finds himself surrounded by some other students. Peter assumes that his plan has worked. The fat guy with a scar on his lips is the first to confront Peter. The fat guy asks Peter, calling him a killer if he seduces Yejin. Peter looks confused and has no idea what that fat guy is talking about. The fat guy starts weeping and curses Peter, Jang Yisel, for a long time. He's been in love with only one girl, Yejin, and they have been dating for 20 days. They have been in a very blissful and romantic relationship. That's enough time to fall in love. Jang loves Yejin a lot, and they have been crowned as the best lovers of Divine Honor High School. Unfortunately, Peter steals Jang's love from him, so Jang is here to take revenge. Jang charges Peter and tries to punch him, but Peter is too fast for him. He swiftly dodges Jang's punch and prepares a mighty right-hand punch on Jang's face. Jang Yisel is popular here because he conquered the Mapo district alone with his fists. He is a tough guy. However, for the first time in Jang's life, he senses death when he sees Peter's punch racing towards his face. When the punch is about to hit Jang's face, he closes his eyes and apologizes to Yejin for being unable to protect her. Peter stops his fist and decides not to hit a powerful punch on his face, but flick Jang on his forehead. Jang falls to the ground, shivering with his swollen forehead, while Peter stands before Jang. The teacher calls out to Peter and runs towards him with a red card in hand. He asks Peter how dare he is fighting here. The teacher grabs Peter by his cheek in anger and asks Peter what his father does for a living. Peter replies that his father is dead, which makes the teacher feel sorry, and he apologizes to Peter. The teacher doesn't let go of that cheek, pulls Peter away, and tells Peter to follow him, as he keeps asking him how he dares to fight in their school. Jang gets back on his feet and yells at Peter to let him go. It seems like he is still unconscious. Another student tells him that Peter is not holding him anymore. Hidden-faced killer students appeared again, and they were deciding what they should do about Peter. One suggests waiting a little more and finding out more about him, while the other agrees as they find it fun. Another student suggests killing Peter. Meanwhile, in the auditorium, the teacher is still dragging Peter by his cheek and tells Peter to follow him. Peter replies that he is already following him. Some other students who have just watched this all gossip that the new transfer student is crazy, while others think he is in his emo phase, which they believe is excellent. Then a girl who tried to kill Peter in his bookshop. She sees him while dragged by the teacher, and she is horrified because she thinks Peter has been transferred into the school to destroy it from the inside. That girl's name is Yunbiol, and Peter goes to her and asks to sit beside her. Yunbiol asks Peter what he is doing here. Peter replies that people are still following him, so he flees. Then Peter asks her why she is sitting here. Yunbiol replies that she is sitting there because she doesn't have an appetite. Peter rejects her reason as he notices the mountain of food on her tray. The girl turns away from Peter, calling him noisy. Yunbiol starts thinking back to the night at the Eight-legged hideout when the Eight-legged offered her to Peter in return for his life. She remembers how Peter asked her to tell the organization that the old Peter killed the people there. Peter's told her she had to do it if she wanted to live. The girl reminds Peter that she did as he tells her and keeps her promise. Then she asks Peter why he is here and finds her. Peter explains that he is not particularly here to see her. A girl with a mouth full of strawberries asks Peter that he is now here to kill her. Peter refuses and tells them that he is not here to kill her. She explained that the organization monitors her every move because of Peter, and he might know how difficult it is for her. Peter tells Yunbiol that she should put up with whatever she's going through. He reminds her that the only reason she's alive and eating today is because he saved her life. She tells Peter that he wasn't the one who saved her life, but she survived on her own. Peter lets go of the topic and accepts her claim. She then asks Peter about the organization. As she doesn't know about the organization, she has no idea how scary the place is, and she claims that he doesn't even know who she is. She asks Peter how an outsider like him can harm an organization from the inside. Peter asks her for help in doing this. She gets up, starts walking away, and asks why she will help him. To convince her, Peter tells her they are in the same boat as they both know nothing and that he is counting on her. Peter calls her Yunbiol, then changes his mind and addresses her as Li Yuna. The girl stops in amazement at how he knows her real name. When she turns around to Peter, she sees that Peter is gone. The scene shifts, and the Divine Honor High School students preparing for the athletic competition. A student named Jonathan running a sprint race, a man who is known as Usain Bolt at Divine Honor High School, and he holds the 400-meter sprint high school record. But today is his retirement day as a new student, and it will smash his record. Jonathan runs with all his power, but Peter effortlessly goes past him. After the race, Peter receives cheers from fangirls around. Jonathan is seen sitting after losing the race, and Jang is sitting next to him. Meanwhile, one of the killer students with red glowing eyes is watching everything from the bushes.